Hi, and welcome to Plus or Minus 60's New Day. It is a new day, and we're excited around here, aren't we, Rich?
Brand new day.
We are excited because we have a chef in the house with us today.
Ooh,
Yes,
let's see.
we do. We're waiting. He is Chef Daniel and his wife Amanda, and their last name is Ann Schutz, and they are from the Canton area, and they service the Stark County area with a very unusual and necessary service. And when you hear their story, you're going to really think about, what God has you doing right now and what can you do. And we all have a plan and a purpose. So they're with us along with Richard Fonte today. And Judy Merrick has the scripture reading for us right now.
Hello, the scripture reading for today is 2 Corinthians 9, 6, 7, and 8. It says, "But this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. For he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. So let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not grudgingly or out of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that you, always being of all sufficiency in all things, may have all abundance for every good work."
And that's what we're talking about today. Mainly the line of charity is the theme of this week's programming, and we have a couple here. A lot of people think charity means you got to give money, and you got to give it everywhere. But God doesn't require that of us, I don't think. And sometimes God will place something within our spirits that we have to move on what it is He's saying. And so this is, I believe, the path that our guests today have taken, the road that they've walked. And Daniel and Schutz, tell me how you came to know the Lord. Tell us about your childhood, essentially.
Born and raised in the church. I was brought up in the Disciples of Christ denomination, which is a non-denominational church. Went through that. We had pastor's class in 5th grade. Went through all the steps there. And at the end of
5th grade?
5th grade. Yep, 5th grade was pastor's class.
That wasn't a public school then, was it?
No. This was a church.
A church.
Okay. When you hit 5th grade, went through a pastor's class. So you went through a class with the pastors. Went through all. What does it mean to be baptized? Why do you get baptized? Okay. It's an 8-week course. Oh. After church every week for 2 months to get to know and understand what's required when you join a church and all that information. But at the end of that it ends on Easter Sunday with baptism.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
And so you accepted the Lord at what age then?
I want to say I was 9 years old.
9 years old. And you were raised in a Christian home, I take it?
Yep, for sure.
Okay. And Amanda, how about you? When did you come to know
So I actually accepted Jesus when I was 4 years old at the dinner table with my parents. I grew up in a Christian home. And I remember that day, just sitting at dinner and saying to my mom and dad, what does it mean to love Jesus? And they led me to the Lord. But, I will tell you that I rededicated my life when I was in my mid-20s. Just growing up in the Christian home, trying to do everything that was right, and then going away to college and kind of getting, into the world a little bit more than what I should have been. I walked away from what God was wanting me to do. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until the bottom fell out of my life and I really knew that I was done running, from Him. And I rededicated my life at the age of 27 and haven't looked back since, and just know that I'm just grateful for the foundation that my mom and dad had. And we've always grown up in the non-denominational churches. The chapel has always been my home. Grew up in Hartville, and, so I'm very familiar with Stark County and just all the things there. But, there's just something to be said whenever life gives you, when you really walk away from Him and He just continues to pursue you, and so.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's, the Bible says that none come to Christ, but He's drawn by the Spirit. Mm-hmm. And so, we have that, there's some little kindle in there that manifests into a larger flame, and you take note. and you say, here I am. God had to bring me, I guess, to this in order to get where I needed to be with him. And, you know, that happens so many times. And a lot of people just go to church and they say, well, Lord, I love you, and that's it. And they devote their lives to it because, you know, we're all different. And it takes something different, I think, for each of us to realize there's a plan for our lives. And how did you two meet then?
We met on ChristianMingle.com.
Oh, really?
It's funny, though, because we had radiuses set at 50 miles, and I lived in Columbus, and she lived in Hartville. For those who don't know geographically, those are not 50 miles apart.
Yes.
Right. It's
Those are
120
much
miles.
further apart.
Yes.
Right. So, and honestly, you know, from my, you know, just from our experiences, this is a second marriage for us. And honestly, we had been, after being divorced, I had thought, you know, Lord, I've messed up, and I'm pretty sure there's not somebody for me, and I'm going to be okay with that, and I'm going to live on my life, and I'm going to serve you, and I'm going to do the things we need to do. And it was a few years after my divorce that finally friends of mine said, you know, it's time. You really do need to find somebody. And I'm like, well, what does that mean to find somebody? And so God has a very funny way, because my friends were like, well, we're just going to do Christian Mingle, see if it works. And I said, you have the free trial period to see if it's going to work. And so on the last week that I was in the free trial, Daniel just sent me a very straightforward, you seem like a nice person. If you like to get to know each other, let me know. And I thought, you know, he's not threatening. Let's try it out. And God, I really do believe, brought the two of us together to begin Compassion Delivered. There is no other way that this organization could be what it is today if it wasn't for the two of us coming together and seeing how God was going to use us. And we didn't know, honestly, like we didn't start dating for that reason. We had no clue. We were working in totally different sectors of our lives. And it's amazing when you step out of your own way, what God will end up doing. And that's literally what has happened.
How long has that been now?
So we have been together 12 years, married for 9. This is putting me on the spot. Ooh.
Yeah.
And we've been in an organization for 8.5 years.
Wow.
Do you have children? Yeah.
We do. We have 2 children, 2 daughters, 19 and 12. And so it's been, you know, fun just to kind of have them also see what it means to, you know, serve the Lord in this way as well.
And they take it seriously.
They do.
They do.
point.
They
Well,
really
that's very
do.
good.
Yes,
Very
they
good.
both have accepted Jesus and been baptized, and you know, both of them are seeking their own, you know, path of what they want to do to serve the Lord.
Okay, let's talk for a moment about compassionate delivery, or compassion
That's all right.
delivered.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
It is a compassionate delivery.
It is. That's true.
Well, I've done a few of those,
Yeah.
but not totally on my own all
Sure.
the time. But you know, that's probably one of the most welcome things that you know, a lot of us neglect to think about. But it's welcome to someone who's in need of something at the time. But tell us about Compassion Delivered.
So it's a funny story because, again, how God works in these ways. When Daniel and I got married, you know, when you get married, you start talking about how you spend your finances and how you're spending your money. And so you merge your finances together. And so we were married in September, and in November of that year, I made a donation to a nonprofit in Denver, Colorado, because my cousin had been working for them. And my cousin had been working for them for years prior to this moment, and I had been supporting, you know, sending out those donations to him every year, or to the organization and everything. And so when I made this donation, Daniel said, hey, you know, what's this for? And I said, oh, it's a nonprofit that my cousin works for in Denver. And he's like, well, that's great. What do they do? And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, really? And I said, I don't know what they do. I just support because you support family, and I know he's doing something good. And my cousin and I are really close. We're like the closest of the cousins. And so he said, well, why don't you call your cousin and find out? So I made an awkward call, and I said, hey, cuz, so what do you do? And he's like, are you kidding me? You don't know what I do? And so he said, you know, this nonprofit, at the time, almost 9 years ago, they were 25 years old. They provided healthy meals to people that were living with life-threatening or terminal diseases or illnesses in Denver, Colorado. And I remember just being like, I'm so proud of, like, that's incredible. Like, Justin, you know how important that work is, because each of us in our own lives have had family who have been diagnosed with a life-threatening or terminal disease. And we know that that struggle is real. And so I just remember just saying, like, oh, I'm so proud of you. And so I get off the phone and I tell Daniel, you know, a chef right in his wheelhouse, and he says, well, let's find a nonprofit in Northeast Ohio that we can volunteer, you know, support, get behind, you know, and just, you know, be a part of it. And so I was in corporate America, and I just started kind of making phone calls to my network and asking questions and meeting with different organizations. And we were specifically looking for organizations who, it didn't matter on age, income, or anything like that. It was solely based on their diagnosis and if they lived in Stark County. And what we found is that there wasn't an organization like that that existed. It doesn't even exist in Northeast Ohio. It doesn't even exist in Ohio. And so we started asking a lot of questions. We started meeting with the hospitals. We started meeting with other organizations that do food, just to make sure that we're not duplicating services. And we just began to pray about it. And I remember being very specific and saying, Lord, if this is what you want us to do, then you need to close all the other doors of the things that we want to do or that we're doing right now. And you need to make it really clear. And I'm telling you, he made it very clear. He was very clear on shutting those doors and opening these doors for us to begin. And it wasn't until the spring of 2016 when we met with both of the hospitals and we said, if we do this, how many people in this community alone could we serve? And they said there's 2,200 people in Stark County alone that could benefit from this program. And I remember driving home that night, and I was going up 77, and I was passing actually Mercy, and I just began to cry because I thought that meant there was 2,200 people tonight who were going to bed either hungry, who didn't have the energy to go to the store, who didn't have the support to get that nutrition that they needed, and they just needed to know that they weren't alone. And we got home, and it was that following Sunday that when we went to church, our pastor was doing a sermon on giving. And it wasn't financial giving, it was giving of your time. And he explained the story of this gardener who had gone to this home to, you know, do some weeding and things of the beds of this very wealthy man. And the gardener kept saying, hey, I just want you to come work at the soup kitchen that I'm at. And the guy would say, I'll just give you money. I'll just give you money. And he's like, no, I really want you to see what is going on. And finally he wore him down enough, and the gentleman went to the soup kitchen, and he walked in, and the guy, the wealthy man, just started seeing all the things that needed to be fixed. And he was missing the opportunity of the people having conversation and the people that were engaging with one another. And so they started to wash dishes, and the gardener held up a spoon and he held up a ladle, and he said, do you know the difference between the two of these? And the guy says, no, I don't. And he says, well, with a spoon, you serve yourself, but with a ladle, you serve many. And Daniel turns and he's like, that's the symbol of what we're going to do because we want to serve many. That's what we're called to do. And so the name Compassion Delivered just came out of us praying about it and just saying, okay, Lord, what does this mean? And then we officially formed in January of 2017 and haven't looked back since.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, wow.
So who sponsors you? How do you get sponsorship?
So a lot of it is through just general donations. That's really where we get the most of our support. We also get support by applying for grants, and then we do hold 2 major fundraisers each year that help us to be able to have enough income. We don't charge, you know, it's literally free. When we say free, which is so bizarre nowadays because it's like free, but then there's like a catch to it.
Yeah,
There's no catch to it. It literally is
shipping.
right, exactly. Like you'll get a bill later. It's not like that at all. We really do want to eliminate that stress that so many go through when they're diagnosed. You know, when you find out that your life is going to be turned upside down, the world continues, but your world stops. And you start to wonder, okay, how am I going to afford it? How am I going to have the energy to do these things? And you just kind of go in a tailspin. And what we want to do is we want to just calm that down and say, listen, we'll handle the food. You don't need to worry about that part. You focus on you and the time that you have and resting, and we'll be there. And we just, over the years, have just created an opportunity to walk alongside them. And, you know, we want them to see Jesus through what we do. And I'm pretty sure he is on display in everything that we do, from the meals that are made to being able to deliver them.
Do you have a kitchen? Where do you make your meals?
So we currently have an agreement with Evermore Community Church out in Hartville, and they allow us to use their kitchen.
Wonderful.
Every Monday I get together. I can't do it myself. We have volunteers that come to the kitchen with us. So I have between 6 to 8 people, and we have 2 shifts, a morning and an afternoon shift. We make 3 meals and 2 soups for each of our recipients every single week.
3 meals and 2 soups.
So it might not sound like a lot of food, because that's something when people go, oh, that's it. What you have to remember is when somebody has been when they have an illness or disease, like cancer, COPD, there's a whole plethora of them. They may not be eating the same amount of food that you and I are eating on a regular basis. And so a lot of times one of our entrees has like 1 to 3 servings per entree, and they could get multiple meals out of that one serving. And so we don't want to waste food because of the donations that come in. We want to be good stewards of what we have.
Yeah.
And so we really had to try to tweak that over the years to make sure that we're not giving them too much and it goes to waste, but we're also not giving them too little and it's not helpful.
Yeah.
So it's a fine balance to find.
So the soup thing sounds light, but a lot of especially elderly or sick people, they want to eat lightly. Right. And I could sit down with a cup of soup and crackers, and that could be my meal because
Absolutely.
that's all I require, really.
Right.
But I know a lot of people, nutritionally speaking, you should add vegetables and fruit when you can too. But
Yep.
Who delivers?
We have volunteers for delivery as well. We do that on Fridays. So we make the meals on Monday and we freeze them because we don't know what someone's appetite's going to be like, so they can thaw them out a day in advance and they're good to go for the next day. So that way they don't, it's not, again, the waste. We don't want them to have waste meals. But we have volunteers that show up on Friday morning around 10 o'clock. It's about 2 hours of volunteer time, depending on what part of Stark County and how big their route is. But they show up and they faithfully deliver.
That's tremendous.
And a lot of our deliverers are former meal recipient family members that have been a part of the program.
do you frequently deliver like
yeah.
a husband and wife that are elderly, maybe 2 dinners?
We do. So we do it on a kind of a case-by-case situation. When somebody comes to us, it's always based on the individual, that's been diagnosed. But if we do see that there isn't a support system, if it is just a husband and wife, or, if it's a single gentleman and maybe his sister comes to care for him or whatnot, we will consider what we call caregiver meals. And those are also free, because how can a caregiver take care of somebody if they're not taking care of themselves? And so, a lot of times, there is guilt a lot associated when somebody who's sick is getting meals and their spouse is not eating the same. So we want to eliminate those stresses with them.
Exactly.
And so we'll just say, listen, we'll just deliver everything to you guys and you get the same set that they do, and you can just have the food, and it's totally worked out. So
Can I have your corn?
it's right. They do. Sometimes when they don't feel like eating something, they'll share it. Or I love one of the stories is we had a couple years ago. They were in their mid-50s, and she said, "Well, I just didn't really like the chicken, but my husband really did." And so then I took his vegetables, and it worked out fine.
Oh, good. Well,
So they
that's
do
great.
share. So.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure in the program that we do get your address, well, at least your phone number,
Sure.
or your website of how people can reach you. I know that you're busy already. Now, you only service Stark County, is that correct?
Currently, yeah. Well, she talked about earlier, 2,200 people in Stark County. Well, we've since gone and talked to other corporations that do larger polling, and now that number for those who have life-threatening or terminal diseases in Stark County is over 17,000 people.
Is that right?
So
Oh, my
we've only
goodness.
touched the tip of the iceberg of the people that need our services.
So maybe people in other counties, maybe you should get your little, excuse me, maybe you already have your presentations all prepared, but go to other counties and talk with the people who are in charge of the health department or whatever, and find out, encourage them to start something, because I see it as a very necessary thing. Not everyone has a child or someone taking care of them or with them. Some people get a visitor, a nurse visit
Right.
a couple days a week or 1 day a week or something like that. But I see the need here is extremely great. And
is.
I know of people recently who've gone down the road and needed food, and there wasn't, a family member usually
Sure.
had to stop what they were doing and go take care of them. for that period of time. And you know, the needs actually go a lot deeper than just the food aspect, but that is a major issue.
It is.
And if someone has hope of recovery, then it plays a real important role in that. And
For sure.
It could be the mind change, the spiritual
Right.
change, whatever,
Right.
you know, to lead them into trying a little harder to live. And that, you know, I never say die to anybody. I never I never talk about death to people. I just talk about, you know, when the time comes for me, I know I want to be with the Lord. And I think, you know, we have an opportunity through the things that we do to have these tentacles reach out through other people. Even you depend on volunteers. I depend on volunteers here. And, you know, we don't want to let them down. We don't want to be failures at what we do. And they want to know that what they're doing is important too. And we know a lot of people that can use help like that. But our area, unlike yours, reaches out into even other countries.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not
Absolutely.
just here, but how can people get in touch with you?
So visiting our website is www.compassiondelivered.org, or our local number is 330-575-0996. That's the best way. And of course, we're on social media as well, so if that's
Right.
Facebook and Instagram. So
And we have your fund or your information up there, and I see you're having a fundraiser coming up.
yes,
is that
we do.
right?
We have our
October
largest
11th?
gala. It's our largest fundraiser in October. It's very special to us. It was our original fundraising that we did, and it's our 7th year this year in October. So it is a fun night to come
What-
out and be a part of what we do.
What happens at this event? Do you do the cookie?
No, it's funny because so many people that night will go, "Did you make the meals tonight?" I'm like, "I'm walking around like dressed up, real nice." I'm like, "No, I'm not going back to the kitchen tonight." But we have a gathering hour. We have the hors d'oeuvres and everything else. We have a sit-down dinner. We have a program that goes with that. But we also have silent auction items from donations from people in the community, and then we also have the live auction items where every year I get auctioned off to go to people's homes and cook a multi-course dinner in their house.
Oh, you get off.
Yeah.
Wow.
That goes over really
It
well.
does. It's one of our top things that is auctioned off at the gala. But you know, it's also a night for us to come and share what has happened over the last year. And we typically will also share about one of our meal recipients in a video that night that will be shared with our guests. And we have anywhere between 250 to 300 people that attend. And so this year, we're in the thick of it and planning, but it is the night that we try to raise the most funds to help us get into the new year, so that we can kind of just continue to grow and help more people in Stark County.
How do you find these people? Who do you go to?
So mostly they come from the hospitals or from doctors' offices or hospice organizations around Stark County. That's typically our referral source, but people can personally come to the program. There is a simple application that needs to be completed. It just helps us to understand like what their challenges are, any food restrictions that they have, or any other things that they might be dealing with that we can refer them to, because we have a lot of referral partners that we work with, just to make sure that they have the best services that they need. So if they need in-home care or they need a hospital bed, we can connect them with other organizations to do that as well. But that's where the majority of our referrals come from, is the major hospitals.
She's talking about all the other referrals we can give and help them out with. She likes to say that the meal gets us in the door to have a seat at the table. Because through what we've done, we've had so many other contacts through so many other services that now we're able to say, hey, if you need this, here's who to contact for this, and be more involved with the community at large.
Who comes to the banquet?
It will be everybody from our governor, like our state representatives, to the mayors of some of our counties, our communities, to our donors, to our foundations, to our families that we serve. It really is a huge mix of people that come together, and it's really
Sounds
great
awesome.
to just to be together, because, and our volunteers, like Daniel mentioned earlier, if we didn't have our volunteers, we wouldn't know what to do. So it's incredible.
We would too, and we'd be lost without our boys back in the control room. Wouldn't we?
Yeah, that's right.
Daniel
That's
and
right.
Danny. They had a nice vacation up to Banff, Canada, I think.
Nice.
it was.
Good.
And back today. So I want everyone to know that this ministry that Amanda and Daniel have is very important. A lot of people depend on you, and even the volunteers see. They get it. They get it, and they're your extensions,
Yes.
really.
Absolutely.
And so we thank God that you have that in our community here. We're going to be talking with you on later programs, but we wanted to let you know that we are a 501c3 too, as is Daniel and Amanda. And if you would like to sow seed into their ministry, once again, you can get in touch with them online at compassion or
CompassionDelivered.org.
www.compassiondelivered.org. And for us here at Plus or Minus 60, our work is to hear the stories that people like you have to tell and to encourage people to get behind you. All of us aren't drawn to certain things, but every now and then something will strike a chord. Richard?
If you enjoyed the program today, would you give us a little like on the podcast? And those of you that say, what are you talking about? You can see us on YouTube anytime you want. Just go to YouTube and then go to Plus or Minus 60 New Day, and look, there we are. And then you can join up with us, and we'll automatically be on your screen each time you go to YouTube, and you can watch the new programs as we make them. If anybody's watching right now, take the opportunity and give us a call, 330-875-7181. We'd love to hear from you. And also, help us take care of some of these electric bills and things like that. We love it when people say, hey, this program needs to stay on the air. We've only been here 41 years. Hey, what do you want? But we're doing the best that God gives to us, and I think that Marge and the crew here is doing excellent. Again, if you have a prayer request, give us a call, 330-875-7181. We take time for prayer.
Right.
Marge?
Hey, we want you to know we love you, but Jesus loves you more. So if you're not in church, and you haven't been in a while, give it a try. You might be really surprised at how it hits home for you. So just give your life unto the Lord and see what He will do with it, and I think you'll be amazed. God bless. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us today for Plus or Minus 60 New Day. We trust you've enjoyed today's program. New Day is brought to you by Hazen Ministries. We are solely supported by graceful contributors like you. If you'd like to sow a seed of faith or need prayer, please reach out to us at 330-875-7181 or write to us at P.O. Box 230, Louisville, Ohio 44641 or online at hazenministries.com. Bless you, and be sure to join us again next time.